All right, Southwest Florida, welcome back to Lee Pitts Live. We're here at the fabulous Naples Botanical Garden. They have rolled out all of the accommodations. I want to let them know that you guys have done me proud. Thanks for hosting Lee Pitts Live here. And we have our special guest here, Amy Schenk, who's here from Neuropsychiatric Research Center of Southwest Florida.
Thank you, Lee. It's great to be back.
Amy, check this out. I was able to say that name without even looking at notes. So I'm growing up.
I'm impressed.
You have done a great job of getting me up to speed. I see you everywhere. You're just all out in the community educating people on brain health.
I am doing that, and it's wonderful. Really, that's one of our passions. Brain's most important organ, whether we like it or not, and it's one that we don't think about a lot. So if we don't have a healthy brain, you know what? Everything is controlled by our brain. So yeah, you will be seeing me out and about because that's what I love to do.
Saw you at Community Fund Day at Mount Hermon Ministries. See you out there connecting with Premier Mobile Healthcare Services. You're just out there connecting with the community. Why do you think that you just said it? We don't think about our brains in terms of our overall health. We think about our heart, our lungs, our prostate and all that, cancer and breast. We don't think about our brain. Nobody ever talks about, hey, I gotta get my brain just to make sure my brain is cool.
Well, and you know what, that's a great point. And I've noticed that as well. So a lot of times people don't want to think about things that involve the brain. So memory loss, we don't really like to talk about that. Mental illness, we don't like to talk about that. And that's kind of part of our brain. And I think sometimes we haven't done a good job of communicating how important the brain is. You do hear about heart health. For Pete's sakes, we have a whole month in February on heart health. Well, actually, there is a month. June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, but we haven't done a good enough job talking to people about what they can do to stay healthy. And we need to do a better job.
And we're continuing to do that right now by people seeing us, millions seeing us right now on television and so on, is we're talking, okay? And so start talking about the brain. And from being around you and being educated, I've actually come to the Neuropsychiatric Research Center and I've taken my what you call a baseline test, which was very interesting indeed. People are looking at images of me now doing my baseline test. But who is that gentleman that's talking to me right there?
Actually, you were meeting with Xavier, who is one of our amazing raters at the center, and you had a great interaction with him, and I'm sure you learned a little bit more about your brain health when you talked with both of us.
Right, it made me realize that I need to be concentrating more, or I need to make sure that he took me through a series of questions that I thought I was just Mr. I got all of this, and I had to repeat some of the things that to see how my memory was on some simple things, and I realized, hey, it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
And you know what? So you're not the first person that said that. Again, there are things that we can do to keep our brain healthy. As we get older, whether we like it or not, there are some changes. But changes, some of the changes that are related to age are not the same as changes that need to be dug into a little bit more. Again, whether we like it or not, all of our organs, our whole body, as we age, has an impact.
My baseline test was absolutely free. You guys are giving free tests, but you're certainly looking for people within a certain age range and demographic. Speak to that.
You know what, that's great. Absolutely. Every service that we have is free. But we are looking for people generally between the ages of 50 and 85. And I know that's a wide range.
And I just made that 50 mark.
You just barely sneaked in. I know, Lee. And we're also looking to diversify our research efforts. Whether we like it or not, historically, research and research studies have been focused on Caucasian males. And we know that Caucasian males are not necessarily the template for how diseases impact all of us, women, people of color. So what we want to be able to do is make sure that the people we serve really reflect the community.
And people can actually tap into some of the medical services that you have, because that's what you do. You just deal with the brain all the time. Talk about that process. Before we get into that process, let me slow it down. After I took my baseline test, I was explained to me where I failed in terms of high, low, in terms of my memory and things of that nature. Didn't necessarily satisfy everything. Then after that, there would be further tests if necessary then to determine what my brain health status would be, right?
You're exactly right. So the next step in the process is to meet with one of our team, our clinical team, a physician and nurse practitioner, and they'll talk a little bit about what you might be interested in participating in, but also based on that discussion. And the thing that's importantly is you drive that discussion. The individual who is in our center drives that discussion in terms of what they want to do. But based on that, there are some additional studies that can be done. So a much more in-depth memory screen. In certain instances, there may be blood work. There may be a CT scan or an MRI. Each of those is individualized. So that just gives you kind of an overview of what happens. But right now, we have a number of things and opportunities that we have at the center. Every week, it seems as though we're adding on a new study or a new process. So very exciting. We have a couple new studies that are going to be coming down the pike. And the one that I'm most excited about is that we are looking for individuals who have what we call normal, healthy cognitive function, who are at high risk for Alzheimer's disease. And so people who have a relative, parent, sibling are at a bit higher risk for the disease, as are women, as are individuals of color, people with a Hispanic, like Latinx background, Black, African American. So what we want to be able to do is have those people who are interested participate in the study, because the goal of that study is to identify approaches to be able to prevent or slow or delay the beginning of the disease. And when I say that, to me, that's groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm. The whole idea of when you get a certain age, you're automatically going to start losing memory. You're going to have, I think you said dementia is the big picture and Alzheimer's is a form of dementia.
Yes,
right.
sir.
And then there are other different types of dementia you may have. But you say it's not necessarily the case that because you're older, your memory is supposed to be dropping off, failing at an increasing rate.
You know what? That's a great point. So age is a risk factor for the disease. But just because we age, it does not mean that you will have dementia. So one of the things, and I think one of the myths can be that people, and we thought about this even 20, 30 years ago, when people get older, you know what? They're going to go ahead and lose their memory. You may remember the term people get old and senile. Well, we don't use that terminology anymore. So what we know, particularly now that we're living longer, that people can live very long with a healthy brain and not have issues with dementia. I met a woman yesterday, 92, absolutely her cognitive function was probably better than mine. Mm-hmm. So again, it's not necessarily something that will happen.
How do people, are people able to distinguish whether it's not related or there to? Go ahead.
Well, it's a perfect question. So people say to me, well, how do I know if it's something that's part of normal aging or if it's something I should get checked out? Mm-hmm. Well, I actually have a program that talks about that. But the one way to find out is to take advantage of a free memory screen. It just gives you a baseline. It's not a diagnosis. It's not, oh my gosh, this is what you have. But just like when we go to the doctor and we get our blood pressure checked, or we have some blood work done, it gives us a picture. So that's why I'm passionate about being out in the community and doing these free memory screens, because you know what? Even though we know that ideally healthcare providers are doing this as we get older, it's not happening in every healthcare practitioner's office.
When you go to a general doctor at the hospital for your normal checkup, dealing with the brain is not a part of that, is it?
It's not, well, it should be, but it's not consistent. So at the age of 65, so the magic Medicare age, we all know, many times individuals, actually Medicare has a benefit that's called their kind of free annual wellness visit. Checking your brain should be part of that. Now, some practitioners do and are very tuned into it, and some aren't as tuned into it. So what I usually do when I'm doing my education is ask people, have they ever had just a baseline memory screen? And what I'm finding is, you know what, it's maybe about a third of the people that I'm finding here in Southwest Florida.
I noticed when I went in to get my baseline test, they asked me about my past, my health history. Why was that relevant?
Well, it's important to know that because there are a number of things that can cause memory issues that have nothing to do with Alzheimer's or dementia. So things like, if we have chronic health conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, any of those conditions that are out of control, we may see some memory issues. Medications can cause memory issues or medication interactions. Sometimes if we're not sleeping well, you can have issues with memory. So there's so many other things that potentially could be causing your memory loss. What I tell people is don't guess. When in doubt, check it out. I've been saying that for years, and I think that's the thing that's most important. Because the worst thing that can happen is maybe there's absolutely nothing wrong.
What do you say to those people who say those types of things are for rich people who can afford to get their brain checked out?
You know what?
That's not necessary. Go ahead.
And you know what, Lee? I've heard that. And I will tell you, when I first came to the center, I'm kind of a skeptical and thought, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, guess what? I'm wrong. Because everything that we do at our center, from our initial memory screens to individuals who maybe are enrolled in a clinical trial, and all of the steps along the way, all of the diagnostics, the imaging, the actual process, it is free, free, free. And in some instances, there may be a small stipend for individuals who are part of the trial.
Right.
The other thing I didn't know, again, because I've only been there 5 months, so I'm still learning, but we provide free transportation if people have a transportation issue. The one thing that's important is that people do need to have a study partner. And people say, well, what's a study partner? Study partner may be a spouse, a partner, a friend, a child, someone who has enough contact with that individual. And they don't have to live together, because once someone is in a clinical trial, not only do we get information from the person who's part of the trial, but we want to get information from the study partner. But it does not matter where you live. Transportation is not a reason. Lack of transportation is not a reason. Lack of funds is not a reason. We don't ask for anybody's insurance card.
That's beautiful. What are some things a person should be doing now, or people can do now, as an ongoing process of having a healthy brain?
Great question. And so when you think about what do we want to do to keep our brains healthy? Well, if it's good for your heart, it's good for your brain. So let's think about what those things are. Moderate exercise, making sure that's approved by your healthcare practitioner. You don't want to just start after years of not exercising. Trying to eat as good as you can, so eliminating processed foods, fresh foods. If you've heard of the Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet, which is a diet that is specific for people with high blood pressure, there's a diet that's called the MIND diet that's kind of a combination of both, but real easy. If it's fresh, it's good. Limiting fat, meat, those things, not smoking. So none of this is really new, but some of the challenges, we don't always take advantage of it. So all of us probably get to a certain age and we may have some health condition.
I see.
Going back and making sure that you are following up with your healthcare practitioner. The other one that's easy, but it wasn't easy during the pandemic, was social interaction and social engagement. We're people who want to be around other people. So being with other people, maybe take a walk with a friend, learning something new. And I say, it don't have to go back to school. You don't have to learn a new language. Do something different. Maybe you read a different type of a book. Maybe you watch Jeopardy. But as you're watching Jeopardy, make sure you have a heart-healthy snack, or watch Jeopardy with a friend having a healthy snack. Right there, you're knocking off a number of things that are good for brain health. So all of those things.
So that when I do that every other day and I swim that mile, that's good for my brain,
absolutely.
Blood circulation, all of that, huh?
All of those things. The other thing we need to remember is let's protect our head, because we know that head injury and past head injuries can increase a risk. So wear your seatbelt. If you're a biker, please wear your helmet. Be careful. Your head is precious. And so making sure that we're doing everything in our power to protect it is good.
How big of an issue is Alzheimer's in Southwest Florida?
Okay, now this statistic actually sometimes really blows me away. So I looked at the number of anticipated cases, so projected cases that we believe we have in Lee, Collier, and Charlotte County. And this statistic is from the Department of Elder Affairs, so I didn't just make it up. It's over 31,000 people. And when you think of 31,000 people, that's a heck of a lot of people. So one of the things that the Florida Department of Elder Affairs does is, of course, they focus on people who are over the age of 60. But we get those statistics every year, and one of the things, unfortunately, that I've seen over about the last 5 years I've been looking at those statistics, they're creeping up. So this is an issue. It's an issue whether we talk about it. It's an issue if we don't want to think about it. Unfortunately, those can be responses, and I understand that, but it doesn't change things. And so talking about it, talking about our brain health, talking about our memory, there are things that we are doing at the center, hopefully, to be able to eliminate this condition in our lifetime. And that's what's really exciting. Now, there's no guarantee, but I feel very strongly that we have brilliant minds across the entire United States. The smartest of the smartest people are working on this. There will be progress, and I'm hoping sooner rather than later.
The first thing a person should do for their relative or themselves or whomever they think may could use your services is to call that number on the screen. Another thing about you guys is you're nationwide, you're well respected worldwide, as experts in the field. Elaborate on that, if you will.
Well, and we are part of a network across the country, and as you mentioned, the clinical studies that we do at our center are actually done all over the country. They're also done internationally. And I think we focus on memory issues. That's all we do. Those are the clinical trials. That's our area of expertise, and really our expertise and passion. So people with memory issues, I want people to know that we are the place to come to get information, to get a test, for us to help you. We have resources and support. And again, when in doubt, check it out. If you're worried and you find out there's nothing wrong, what's better than that?
That's right.
Absolutely, because you'll have the facts.
And it's a lack of people of color taking advantage, learning more about their brain health. We want to increase the number of people of all demographics, but certainly people who are lagging in terms of getting checked out.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of my missions. I want to educate the community, and I want to go to the community. You know what, sometimes it can be difficult to get to our center. I want to be in the community and offer those free screens, and I have been able to do that, and I'm going to continue.
Well, Amy, we're blessed to have you in the community. Let me bump you out.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Lee.
All right, stay right there. As the saying goes on this particular show, Miami has the oranges, but the Botanical Gardens of Naples has the
juice.
We'll be right back. Tamika Seaton is in the house. Grow your nonprofit.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello everybody, this is Lee. I'm so glad that you watched that particular show, and if you enjoyed that show, we got other shows like that. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch Lee Pitts Live on demand anytime, and also hit us up on all our social media platforms. Just type in Lee Pitts Live, and there you go.